which is most relevant for the development where we are. Today it is third largest base for high net worth individuals in the country. Has 46% of GCC, which is Global Capability Centers, coming to India as a market share of the incoming capability centers. And these are direct employees of the global companies. They are not the outsourced partners to the local companies. So their kind of work is very different, very high quality. The city is growing very, very fast. It has overtaken in terms of HNIs over Bangalore, becoming the third largest base. It has also become a very high, it has much larger share of residential, which is selling beyond $1 million a residential unit, which is nearly 4 times what is sold in Bangalore. So the city is getting the scale, which has made it very, very attractive.
Right.
The style has been there,
Yes.
but the scale was not there.
Absolutely. But also because the wealth has always been there. Traditionally, the wealthy are so used to traveling out of the city for luxury consumption, for shopping. What are you going to do to get them to start buying in Hyderabad? What are you doing to prepare for that future?
I would say that is true globally for any city or micro market in an urban scenario where the scale was not enough to have a exclusive offering within the city. Those customers have always traveled to other cities. Now I see Hyderabad having that scale of consumption. What we are trying to do is to create an infrastructure which can be at par with any other luxury infrastructure globally, so that the consumer finds the product in the right environment. Our job is to create the best environment, the best infrastructure, and the global brands will have that representation, and they will be able to offer their products in an environment which is conducive. Luxury has always complained that India doesn't have enough quality real estate, and we are going to address that.
We heard that through the course of the various addresses, as well as that retail infrastructure is definitely a key top priority for everybody.
So consumers were there, the quality infrastructure was lacking. I think over the years, country has developed a very large quality infrastructure in every domain that we work in.
Right. And, the point that you just made is an interesting one as well, because, if we shift attention back to Bombay, to Mumbai, just for a second, we're seeing in the north, we're seeing Jio World Plaza. In the middle is going to be JSW Realty, and in South Mumbai we have Galeries Lafayette and the Mill. With so much infrastructure and quality infrastructure available, do we believe that Indian clients are really going to show up and shop? They're going to show up and be there?
I think we all can maybe participate on this one, but I think quality infrastructure has not existed ever in Mumbai, right? That game has changed now dramatically. I also think the economy of Maharashtra's economy is going to hit 1 billion before we know it. India is going to hit 7.5 by 2030. So I think the number of young people with a large pocketbook are dying for some sort of campus-like infrastructure which is all-inclusive and offering to kind of stay in one place for some time. And I think there's multiple opportunities. It's not meant for one entity. It is not like the olden days. It's going to be spread across the city. Like, we're going to be in 5 locations in different parts of the city, from South Bombay all the way to Versova. And I think there's room for everyone if you build good quality, good standard product. We've seen it in residential. Residential development in Bombay, if it's a high ticket price of over $5 million, there's a number of players selling that ticket size today, and the consumption exists. So I think it's just about the product, and I think the product has not been right in many places. We have to reflect on that, and we have to reflect on how we're approaching the product, how we integrate that with the brands that are coming in. That's my view.
Great. And, with that, I'm just going to go into the closing and ask one common question to all of the panelists, and that would be great, Pushpa, to start with you. Brands that have been in India for a few years sort of know, let's say, the playbook. For new brands coming into the country, and we know that there's a number of new brands, and we heard in some of the messages this afternoon as well, that between the different groups, there's a number of new brands that want to enter India. If we park aside for a second the regulatory challenges that brands face until today, what would be your message, what would be your advice to new brands coming into the market today? And if all of you can take that.
Yeah, that's a good question. So when I look at the marquee brands coming in, they have to look at a 3 to 4 year horizon where they will start probably with one city. I'm partial to Delhi, so I'll start with Delhi and then move on to maybe Mumbai. So they have a 4 year horizon in which they scale two markets, and which is what I've seen typically luxury brands doing. However, when it comes to the smaller brands, not so large, but yet very eager to participate in the Indian luxury space, today is an exciting time for them because they can come in to Delhi, create pop-ups, understand the market, go to a Lamel, go to a Hyderabad, so they are able to experience what the customer is and how the customer is willing to spend or interact with them well before their permanent investments. And I think Galeries Lafayette is a great example of that. Lamel is a great example of that, where it becomes a great testing ground for all the brands. So I think that is what I would recommend, that people test the market before they make very large investments. Having said that, what we also believe is that at, say in an Emporio or a Chanakya, we've seen if there are exclusive boutiques with brands which come in, take up 1,000 square feet, but exclusive boutiques come in as joint venture or directly to the country. That to me is the largest change that people should make. Instead of just getting in a franchisee, maybe just for one region, there we see that the brands get diluted. Their essence is kind of diluted. But when the same brand comes in as a joint venture with a great local partner, life changes and that same brand looks different. And last but not the least, the pricing is then 12 to 15% of the home country, which is the most critical thing. If you have pricing which is beyond 20%, we've seen the Indian consumers seek value at all grades. So if they don't get that value at any grade, they travel. They're going to Dubai one day, or Singapore the next, or London the third. So for them, it's pricing and value is equally important. We've seen it change in all the categories where people have got that pricing right. Today, I must say, LVMH's got its pricing down to 10% from home country, which is why the consumption is high.
Right. Samir, can you take that next? Because you've been a local partner to many brands over the last several years. Onitska Tiger is like really a big success story in India because everyone's wearing those shoes, even though we're not talking about luxury. What would you say is the advice for these new brands?
I'd say that demand should not be a concern.
Other than partnering with you.
Oh yeah, that's all. But demand should not be a concern. I think it's one of those situations where you put the chicken before the egg. The fundamental issue which India has had across all categories is infrastructure. I think what I've seen over the last 2 years, and especially the pipeline over the next 5 years, we've never seen before. And demand follows ecosystems. To build ecosystems around demand in a country like India is very hard. And therefore you have this cut and paste and mix and matches happening because people are trying to backfeed ecosystems into pockets of demand. But now we're seeing vision, we're seeing pipelines come through. And we're seeing it in the middle, especially a lot of demand and new kinds of demand. And so I think in this instance, we actually have very compelling pipelines in the future. So demand should be the least of concern, finding the right partner, whether it's direct or through a JV or a franchisee, that depends really on the nature of your business, the nature of your vision for the business over the next 5 to 10 years. But demand should be the least possible.
Right. Claudio, what about you?
Absolutely. No, I keep stressing the fact of cooperation, of cooperating. Definitely, I totally agree. If I think of what our friend legal earlier mentioned of the BIS, if I think of the regulatory burden, if I think of now the treaty that is going to change soon, but we don't know exactly when and how, in which magnitude. So all these kind of things are totally different from the rest.
Which is why I said, if you park the regulatory challenges aside, what would be your advice? What would be your incentive?
Well, first of all, absolutely at leisure. At leisure would be to push on that leisure. That's a key point. It is a no-brainer for me. And then tighter cooperation because this is how it's going to be.
Yeah. Sujal.
Well, I think until we hit 100 billion, I don't think we have an issue. I think infrastructure will not let us get there. So I think it's connected. And I think where pricing is concerned, pretty sure, the new world should be at zero, right? Ideally. We should see, but how does that work? What comes out of the Indian ecosystem to contribute to that in luxury?
Right. And Rajneesh, we're going to give you the last word. Last but not least, please tell us what's your good word to the new brands wanting to come into India?
So when I look at the total business environment in India, and I'm talking about all sectors, not only the retail, I think what we have experienced in last 20 years, or what luxury has experienced in last 20 years, that business, that number of doors will double in next 5 to 7 years. I think they will double again in next 5 to 7 years. So if you look at any geography where you can double your presence in terms of number of products that you're selling, the value or the number of doors, where you can double every 5 to 7 years, I think you should look at India for 20 years, not for 5 or not for 10 years. In next 20 years, I think you will double your business in India 3 times. And if any other market can give you that kind of growth, I am happy to hear that name. But it comes with a qualifier that your base in India is very small, right? Well, the growth rate will be very high. So you're dealing with 2 extremes of the spectrum. We are talking about very small base, but you're talking about the highest global growth that you will get. So it needs to be handled very differently. It cannot be compared to any other market that you are playing in. We are seeing that in our business. What we constructed as real estate developer in last 20 years, we are constructing more than that in next 7 years. And I believe, and when I say we are constructing, we are not only constructing offices. It includes offices, it includes 5-star hotels, it includes malls, it includes the luxury residential. Sujal talked about more than $5 million houses. I think we have the largest market share in that category in South Mumbai. We are seeing it in our business. That what we did in last 20 years, we are going to do that in next 7 years. And I believe our next volume of this nature will not take even 7 years. We will do it in 3 to 4 years. And I see that happening in every sector in India. So smallest base, highest growth. You're dealing with 2 extremes in India.
Thank you so much for ending on that very, very optimistic note. And I hope that everybody in the room, especially the industry, is listening. So thank you. Thank you for being here. Can we just stay on for a minute for a group photograph and then we can step down?
Okay. Thank you.